Thousands of property owners in Cyprus, both local and international, are sitting on a ticking time bomb. They bought property in good faith, they paid their money, they believed everything was in order, but years later many have discovered that their ownership is tangled in a web of legal confusion, disputed title deeds, unresolved planning permissions and mounting tax liabilities they didn't even know existed. This is not a small problem, it is widespread. It affects retirees who moved to Cyprus for the sunshine. It affects investors who bought land or apartments during the property boom. It affects families who inherited property and assumed everything was straightforward. It affects people who simply trusted the wrong professionals to handle their affairs. The reality is brutal. Properties that should be worth hundreds of thousands of euros are effectively frozen. Owners cannot sell, they cannot remortgage, they cannot even confirm with certainty that the property legally belongs to them, and while they wait back, taxes accumulate, municipal charges go unpaid, and the risk of enforcement action grows quietly in the background. How did this happen? Cyprus has a complex property registration system. Title deeds have historically been slow to issue. In some cases, deeds were never transferred into the buyer's name. In other cases, the original developer still holds the title because of outstanding debts, mortgages, or planning violations tied to the development. Buyers who completed their purchase and moved into their homes years ago may still not have legal title in their name. On top of this, changes in legislation, tax law, and planning regulations over the years have created additional layers of complexity. Properties built without proper permits, properties where boundaries are disputed, properties caught up in deceased estate complications, all of these issues exist across the island, and all of them require expert handling to resolve. The situation is made significantly worse by one recurring theme that we see again and again: the lawyer problem. Let us be direct about this because property owners in Cyprus deserve honesty. Many people who find themselves in property difficulty do what any reasonable person would do. They hire a lawyer. They expect that lawyer to investigate, to advise, to take action, and to resolve the problem. They pay their fees, they wait, and then they wait some more. What happens next is sadly all too common. Phone calls go unreturned, emails receive vague replies, progress reports are non-existent, months turn into years. Fees are requested for additional work that is never clearly explained, and at the end of it all, the client is no closer to a resolution than they were at the start, but they are considerably poorer. We have seen cases where clients have paid thousands of euros to law firms that have done virtually nothing. No land registry searches conducted, no tax status investigated, no applications filed, no correspondence with authorities, nothing, just invoices. In some of the worst cases we have encountered, lawyers have actively avoided resolving issues because the ongoing work represents a steady income stream. The longer the problem persists, the more fees they can charge. There is no incentive to fix the problem quickly when the problem itself is profitable. This is not to say that all lawyers in Cyprus operate this way. There are excellent, diligent, and honest legal professionals on the island. But the unfortunate truth is that enough bad actors exist to have created a widespread crisis of confidence among property owners, particularly among the expatriate community who may not speak Greek, who may not understand the local legal system, and who are particularly vulnerable to being taken advantage of. If any of what we have just described sounds familiar, you are not alone. And more importantly, there is something you can do about it. Who we are. Pontis Financial is a UK-based financial services firm. Our core business is bridging finance. We are brokers who understand property, who understand value, who understand the mechanics of buying, selling, securing, and releasing equity in real estate. We operate from offices in both the United Kingdom and Cyprus. It is our presence on the ground in Cyprus that brought this crisis to our attention. Through our work with clients seeking finance, secured against Cyprus property, we began to encounter, with alarming regularity, properties that had fundamental ownership and documentation problems. We saw clients who wanted to sell but could not because their title deeds were not in order. We saw clients who wanted to borrow against their property but could not because the legal status was unclear. We saw clients who did not even realize they had a problem until we started asking the right questions. And crucially, we saw clients who had already spent significant sums of money on legal fees with nothing to show for it. That is when we decided to act. We have built a dedicated service specifically designed to help property owners in Cyprus cut through the confusion, establish the true status of their property, and take concrete steps toward resolution. Why we are different. We are not lawyers. We want to make that clear from the outset. We are not replacing legal professionals, and where legal representation is genuinely needed, we work with carefully vetted, reputable, and accountable legal partners. What we are is something that many property owners in Cyprus desperately need but have not been able to find. An independent, client-focused advisory and resolution service that works exclusively in the property owner's interest. We have no conflicts of interest. We are not tied to any development company. We are not tied to any law firm. We are not tied to any bank. Our only obligation is to the client who instructs us. Our only objective is to get their property situation resolved properly, transparently, and as quickly as possible. Service 1. Ownership tracing and verification. The first thing any property owner needs is clarity. You need to know with certainty who legally owns your property right now. This sounds like it should be simple. It is often anything but. We conduct comprehensive searches through the Cyprus Land Registry, the Department of Lands and Surveys, to establish the current registered ownership of your property. We trace the chain of ownership from the original landowner through any developers, through any subsequent transactions, right through to the present day. We identify whether title deeds have been issued and, if so, in whose name they are held. We determine whether there are any encumbrances on the title, mortgages registered by developers, liens, court orders, caveats, or any other restrictions that could affect your ownership rights. We also investigate whether the physical property you occupy or own matches the property as it is recorded in official records. Discrepancies between what is on the ground and what is on paper are more common than you might think, and they can create serious problems when you try to sell, transfer, or mortgage the property. At the end of this process, you will have a clear, written report setting out exactly where you stand. No ambiguity, no guesswork, just facts. Service 2. Tax status investigation. Property ownership in Cyprus comes with tax obligations. These include immovable property tax, where applicable and noting recent legislative changes, municipal taxes, sewerage charges, and potentially capital gains tax implications. Many property owners, particularly those based overseas, are not fully aware of what taxes and charges apply to their property, whether those taxes have been paid, and whether any arrears have accumulated. Unpaid taxes and charges do not simply go away, they accumulate. Interest and penalties are added, and in some cases, authorities have the power to place charges against property or initiate enforcement proceedings to recover what is owed. We investigate the complete tax status of your property. We establish what is owed to whom and what the consequences of non-payment might be. We identify any deadlines or limitation periods that may be relevant, and we advise you on the most cost-effective way to bring everything up to date. In many cases, the amounts involved are manageable, particularly when addressed early. The danger lies in ignoring the problem and allowing liabilities to grow unchecked. Service 3. Repossession, prevention, and loss mitigation. For some property owners, the situation has progressed beyond paperwork problems. There may be active threats to their ownership. This can take several forms. A developer's bank may be seeking to enforce a mortgage that was placed on the land before individual units were sold. A tax authority may be pursuing enforcement action for unpaid liabilities. A co-owner or heir may be making competing claims to the property. A creditor may have obtained a court judgment that affects the property. Whatever the nature of the threat, early intervention is critical. The sooner we understand the situation, the more options are available. We assess the nature and severity of any threat to your property. We identify the legal mechanisms available to protect your interests. We coordinate with appropriate legal and financial professionals to mount a defense or negotiate a resolution, and we keep you informed at every stage so that you always know what is happening and why. Our goal is simple: to stop you losing your property and to protect the investment you have made. Service 4. Regularization of ownership. Once we understand the full picture, who owns what is owed, and what threats exist, we can begin the process of putting things right. Regularization means different things depending on the specific situation. It might mean applying for the issuance of title deeds that should have been granted years ago. It might mean transferring deeds from a developer's name into yours. It might mean resolving planning violations that are preventing the issuance of a certificate of final approval. It might mean clearing encumbrances from the title. It might mean negotiating with creditors or tax authorities to settle outstanding liabilities. Every case is different. That is why our service is entirely bespoke. We do not offer a one-size-fits-all package because one size does not fit all. We design a resolution strategy that is specific to your property, your circumstances, and your objectives. We manage the process from start to finish. We deal with the authorities, the Land Registry, the municipality, and any other parties involved. We coordinate with vetted legal professionals where formal legal steps are required, and we report to you regularly with clear, honest updates on progress. Service 5, property sale facilitation. For some clients, the ultimate objective is not to keep the property but to sell it. Perhaps circumstances have changed. Perhaps the property was an investment that has not performed as expected. Perhaps the stress and frustration of dealing with ownership issues has simply become too much. Whatever the reason, we can help. Once the ownership is regularized and the property has clean, transferable title, we can assist with the sale process. We work with reputable estate agents and valuers in Cyprus to ensure that the property is marketed appropriately, priced correctly, and sold to a genuine buyer through a transparent transaction. We can also advise on the tax implications of selling, including capital gains tax and any other charges that may apply, so that you understand your net position before you commit to a sale. Our aim is to ensure that you extract the maximum possible value from your property and that the sale proceeds are transferred to you cleanly and without complication. Step 1. Initial consultation. Everything begins with a conversation. You contact us by phone, email, or through our website, and we arrange an initial consultation. This can be conducted by video call, telephone, or in person at our Cyprus office. During this consultation, we listen. We want to understand your situation in as much detail as possible. What property do you own? When did you buy it? Who handled the transaction? What documentation do you have? What problems have you encountered? Have you instructed lawyers previously? And if so, what was the outcome? There is no charge for this initial consultation. It is an opportunity for us to understand whether we can help you and for you to understand how we work. Step 2. Preliminary assessment. Following the initial consultation, we conduct a preliminary assessment. This involves basic searches and inquiries to establish the broad outline of your property's status. We verify ownership records, check for obvious encumbrances, and identify the key issues that need to be addressed. We then provide you with a summary of our preliminary findings, together with a clear proposal setting out what work needs to be done, what it will cost, and how long it is likely to take. This proposal is transparent and detailed. You will know exactly what you are paying for before you commit to anything. There are no hidden fees. There are no vague references to additional work that might be needed later. If the scope of work changes as we go deeper into the investigation, we will tell you before we incur any additional costs. Step 3. Full investigation and action. Once you approve the proposal, we begin the full investigation. This is where the detailed, painstaking work happens. Land Registry searches, tax investigations, correspondence with authorities, document gathering, translation where necessary, analysis, and the development of a comprehensive resolution strategy. We keep you updated throughout. You will receive regular progress reports in plain English, not legal jargon, so that you always know where things stand. Step 4. Resolution and completion. The final stage is the resolution itself. Whether that means obtaining your title deeds, clearing encumbrances, settling tax arrears, defending against repossession, completing a sale, or any combination of these, we drive the process through to completion. We do not consider our work done until your property situation is fully resolved and you have the documentation to prove it. You might need us if you bought property in Cyprus and have never received your title deeds. You are unsure whether the property you paid for is legally registered in your name. You have been paying a lawyer for years with no visible progress on your case. You have received correspondence from authorities about taxes or charges you did not know about. You have been told there is a mortgage or lien on your property that you did not place there. You inherited property in Cyprus and do not know how to deal with the legal and tax implications. You want to sell your Cyprus property but have been told there are problems with the title. You are worried about losing your property to enforcement action and do not know where to turn. You live outside Cyprus and find it difficult to deal with local authorities and systems remotely. You simply want an honest, independent assessment of where you stand and what your options are. If any of these situations apply to you, we can help. The cost of doing nothing. We understand that dealing with property problems is stressful. It is tempting to put it off, to hope that things will resolve themselves, to assume that someone somewhere is dealing with it. But property problems in Cyprus do not resolve themselves. They get worse. Back taxes accumulate, interest and penalties are added, limitation periods for certain legal actions expire, developers go into liquidation, making it harder to pursue title deed transfers, legislation changes, sometimes closing windows of opportunity that were previously open, properties deteriorate physically when they are not properly managed, reducing their value. And perhaps most importantly, the emotional and financial toll of living with uncertainty grows heavier with every passing year. The sooner you act, the more options you have, and the less it is likely to cost. A problem that might be resolved relatively simply today could become significantly more complex and expensive in 12 months' time. Our commitment to you. We understand that if you have been let down by professionals in the past, you may be skeptical about trusting someone new. That skepticism is entirely reasonable. In fact, we welcome it. We would rather work with a client who asks tough questions and holds us to account than one who hands over money on blind faith. Here is what we commit to: transparency. You will always know what we are doing, why we are doing it, and what it costs. No surprises, no hidden fees, no vague explanations. Communication. We respond to calls and emails promptly. We provide regular updates without being chased. If there is a delay or a setback, we tell you immediately, rather than hoping you will not notice. Honesty. If we cannot help you, we will tell you. If the situation is worse than you thought, we will tell you. If a particular course of action carries risks, we will explain those risks clearly. We would rather give you an uncomfortable truth than a comfortable lie. Accountability. We are a UK-regulated firm. We operate to professional standards. We carry appropriate insurance. We are reachable, identifiable, and accountable. We are not a post office box in a jurisdiction with no regulatory oversight results. Ultimately, we are judged on outcomes, not activity. Our measure of success is not how many letters we write or how many meetings we attend. It is whether your property situation gets resolved. Take the first step. Your property in Cyprus represents a significant investment financially and emotionally. Whether you bought a holiday home, a retirement villa, an investment apartment, or a plot of land, you deserve to know where you stand. You deserve to have your ownership confirmed, your liabilities identified, and your options clearly laid out. You do not have to keep waiting for a lawyer who never calls back. You do not have to keep paying fees for work that never gets done. You do not have to keep lying awake worrying about what might happen to your property. Pontis Financial is here to help. We have the expertise, the local presence, the professional network, and the determination to get your property situation resolved. Contact us today for a free, no-obligation initial consultation.